Welcome back to EU Decoded, the podcast from the EPP Group in the European Parliament. In this series, we break down the key challenges facing Europe today. One major threat: foreign interference in our democracies. For years, authoritarian actors have tried to manipulate elections, spread disinformation, and divide our societies. To fight back, the European Parliament has set up a special committee on the European Democracy Shield, focused on tackling cyberattacks, deepfakes, and online manipulation. So in today's episode, we'll explore how to strengthen the EU's resilience against hybrid threats while protecting fundamental freedoms like free speech in the digital space.
I am Alen Legovic from the EPP Group, and today I'm speaking with members of the European Parliament from the Special Committee on the European Democracy Shield to find answers on protecting our democracies. Our guest is Mika Aaltola, EPP Group coordinator in this committee. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tomáš Zdechovský, EPP Group vice coordinator. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Ms. Lena Düpont, EPP Group member in this special committee.
Thank you very much.
Our European democracies are under attack, and the EPP Group is committed in this social committee on the European Democracy Shield to respond to new geopolitical challenges and the expectations of many European citizens. These are some titles and headlines in our recent documents on this issue. As introduction, a question to all of you. What is your response to authoritarian state actors who are using techniques to manipulate public opinion and creating divisions and tensions to undermine our democratic societies? Mr. Aaltola.
Well, deterrence is, of course, the main response. There has to be consequences if one is meddling in or interfering in democratic processes, distorting the organic and authentic side of democracy that we have become to trust on. So we have to be very clear in our response. There has to be consequences, and I think that the recent changes in EU law, the lessons learned from previous cases of election meddling, for example, can be a guide going forward. Of course, the field is changing very dramatically with new technologies, artificial intelligence, empowering new autocratic and totalitarian actors and networks of actors. So we have to be very situationally aware.
Mrs. Düpont, what is your response to these attacks and threats?
Well, I would pick up the word of awareness here as well, because of course we need to have a response in law, a political response, but we also need to make our society resilient towards those threats, be it information manipulation, be it disinformation, be it electoral interference, so that they are aware of the strategies, that they are aware of the instruments being used, that they are aware of what they can actually do on their own to counter these narratives, and be aware of how important but also how sensitive our democracies actually are.
Mr. Zdechovský, what would be your first response to all these threats and challenges?
From my point of view, it's very necessary, really, as a politicians, presented our point of view and say that we are prepared to fighting them. This is not really possible that some disinformation campaign will interrupt us and will be really press us to do something what we are not wanted. Also, the special committee on democracy shields show us that we know that there are some actors from the third countries, and we have to be concrete, like Russia or China or Iran, who doesn't want to really follow our democratic values and want to interrupt us, want to divide us, and want to really bring here some dictatorships, what we doesn't want it. We as Europe, we are on the same level, and we are fighting for the values what are really freedom of speech, what are rule of law, and what are all democratic principes, what you know from the beginning of European Union.
Thank you for the first round. Mr. Aaltola, there is an urgent need for targeted support for EU regions. especially countries bordering Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, as the ongoing hybrid threats along the EU eastern borders demands immediate response and concrete actions. What are your views? What are your experiences approach regarding the need to increase resilience across the whole Union, since those threats we face, particularly in the online space, have no borders?
Yes, exactly. It is very vital that we solidify democracy, as well as was pointed out before, that we have to become aware that in what ways the geopolitical enemies and foes are using malign actors to harm us. So the key is to understand the tricks of the trade. So we won't be too innocent when it comes to how we behave, in what ways these actors can influence us. I think one of the key principles is one of the oldest geopolitical dictums that I know. It is to know your enemy and concentrate on their toolbox, understand how they use different networks and actors to meddle in our democratic way of life. So it is important to reveal these tricks and then also have countermeasures to preempt what they are doing. For example, when they are using the election meddling tricks, they are sometimes using intelligence operators, they are using money laundering. So if you are following the money, you can find the actors and also increase the deterrence against them. So we know the actors, we know how they are doing these things, how they're using technologies. So we are much more ready to go after them with this knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. Aaltola. So to know your enemy, to follow the money, just some of the headlines. Mr. Zdechovský, your work in this special committee also focus on interference via online platforms and their impact on democracy, such as attacks on critical infrastructure, cyberattacks, AI-generated content and deepfakes, homegrown hybrid threats, as well as the role of malicious state or non-state actors. What does Europe need to detect and respond to all these threats in a proper and sufficient manner? And what will be the purpose and your goal of your work in this special committee on the European Democracy Shield?
Our goal as EPP is really to name the threats and to describe the threats and shows that we are really prepared to respond. It's many times intelligent operation. Intelligence operations are the gray zone what nobody wants to touch. Also, it's military operation. And you can imagine that against military operation, you cannot use the normal tactic or normal response. But you know in democratic world that you have it here, some justice system, what is function for criminal law, but what doesn't function for some military operation. And I think that our goal is description and really very strong message to member states. Take any action because the member states are responsible in this case. Take the action and stop there. There are operations with money laundering of Russian intelligence, GRU. There are many of the things of the Russia or pro-Russia propaganda, what is saying that some members of European Parliament or members of European commissions are corrupted. And we have really to respond very clear that it was the fake news, because sometimes the lies goes twice around the world before we will present the truth. And I think that it's now the time, especially in this time of 21st century, that we have to be prepared for these lies, what Russia or Chinese propaganda is using against us.
Mr. Zdechovský, thank you very much for these clear words and very good explanations. Madame Düpont, the EPP Group will assess the existing and planned EU legislation and measures in light of potential malicious interference in democratic processes. In which direction will the EPP proposal go to reach concrete solutions to strengthen the EU's resilience to hybrid threats and attacks. What can the EU citizens expect from the EPP Group in this newly special Committee on European Democracy Shield, and what would be a good result for our citizens?
Well, a good result for our citizens would, of course, be the safety and the security of the citizens, but of course as well of the European Union as such. And if I may pick up one of the things that you just mentioned, of course, member states need to take their own national security very seriously. But at the same time, we can also see what we can actually achieve at European level in a better coordinated way, also probably in a more streamlined way, because we're in it together in any case. Meaning the citizens, the member states, the European Union, each and every actor we have here at European level should and need to sign up to the same understanding of we need to provide security to our citizens. Under this umbrella, we will, of course, have a look at the existing tools that we already have, like the hybrid toolbox, like the cyber diplomacy, like the protection of electoral processes that we already have. But I think it's safe to say that we need to have a critical assessment of the tools at hand, because they might not be enough for the current phase of, instability and the current phase of tense security situation that we are in. And this is what we as EPP will be delivering in the end, concrete proposals so that the safety and the security of our citizens is guaranteed as much as we can.
Thank you, Mrs. Düpont. We are coming almost to the end, and therefore a final question to all participants. The EPP Group is committed to upholding universal values such as freedom of expression in a safe and secure online space. This sounds very brave and decisive. What is your message to our citizens? What would be, we heard from Mrs. Düpont, what would be a good result of the work of the Special Committee after 1 year existence? That is the current plan. And what would be, would you already think or recommend that the Special Committee should work longer for another year? What are your proposals, Mr. Aaltola?
Well, clearly the name implies already that we have to safeguard and solidify the democratic processes and make them ready for a world where geostrategic foes are trying to intervene in our key critical processes. So moving ahead, the work is never going to be finished or complete. We can never say that now democratic politics is protected for the rest of our lifetimes. The technologies, they evolve. There's new actors, new hostile actors emerging. Hostilities, patterns of hostilities are constantly changing. So we have to also constantly modify our approaches and ensure the citizens that we can act. And then, of course, citizens, they also have their responsibility in maintaining organic and authentic democratic processes. That's what they already know very well, but we can push the process forward. And then signaling to the enemies, don't meddle, don't try anything nasty, because there is going to be consequences for you.
Thank you, Mr. Aaltola. Mr. Zdechovský.
From our perspective as EPP, we are European People's Party. Also, we are absolutely clear that we want not really disturb someone in his freedom of speeches, but we want to stop the foreign actors what are presenting as a main actor of debate, what are using the robots or they are using the fake accounts to disturb our debate, to influence our society, to really divide us on the two groups and fight each other. And I think we, as European People's Party, we are absolutely clear. We would like safety, internet. We would like really have it here, safety space for discussion, because debate is clear issue for democracy. And last, but not least, most important things is that we want really secure our systems of communication and our system of presentation and our hospitals, our organization, because really The Russian and Chinese cyber attacks are not against only the politicians or military organizations, but are against the hospitals. And you can imagine that you will have your child in operation and they will stop the operation because there was a cyber attack and you cannot continue and your child will die. Also, the protection of the European cyberspace is for us, as for European People's Party, key issue. No one in European Parliament, they care about these things like European People's Party. We are only one who really take the actions and who are prepared to give it the people in the Europe the feeling of the security in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Zdechovský. Madame Düpont, your final words in this round.
Well, I would say safeguarding democracy is an ongoing process. I mean, not only for us elected politicians, but for each and every member of society, because it's actually where a democracy belongs to the people. Which means, of course, also under the current circumstances of the security landscape, we will need to reflect on further having something like the special committee in order to fulfill this kind of task. And on content, of course, we will also have to have a look on, do the instruments that we have at hand, that we assessed, that worked or didn't work, are fit for purpose for the next years and decades to come, because I think we all share the same assessment. It's not going to be any easier, both in safeguarding the democracy and democracy processes, but as well safeguarding the security of our citizens.
Thank you very much, dear guests. We thank you for this participating and sharing your views on the start of your work in the Special Committee on European Democracy Shield in the European Parliament.
As we've heard in this episode, there is a lot of work ahead. Democracy should not be taken for granted. We have to fight for it. Well, that was all for today. To stay updated with the latest in EU politics, follow us on social media and visit our website, eppgroup.eu. Thanks for listening.